Hey there everybody, welcome to a new episode of the vlog. Welcome to day 28 of VEDS. Video every day in September. Today I wanted to talk about the history of the Four Tops. I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while. Last year I did a video on the history of the Temptations, or more so on the curse that surrounds the Temptations, in my opinion. As they've gone through so many members, and unfortunately that curse continues, as I have a new amendment to that video that just a few weeks ago, Bruce Williamson, the lead singer of the Temptations from 2007 through 2015, died. Just tragic. I saw him live with the Temptations in 2014. So sad to see him gone, but that's not what this video is about. Today I'm going to talk about the Four Tops. The Four Tops are a fascinating group to me because they just have to hold the record for longest tenured group in pop/rock and roll. At least in terms of a group that still has one of its original members, because they are still together. Well, I mean, like I said, Duke Fakir is the only surviving original member, but they're still together, and they have been since 1954. That is 66 years and counting. The Four Tops were founded in 1954, like I said, by four kids right out of high school. They were lead singer Levi Stubbs, as well as Obie Benson, Lawrence Payton, and Duke Fakir. Duke Fakir, I can never remember how to pronounce his name correctly. Please forgive me, and please correct me in the comments. They were originally founded as the Four Ames. They performed under that name until they were signed to their first record deal to Chess Records in 1956, at which point they were asked to change their name to avoid confusion with the Ames brothers, and so they did. They became the Four Tops, and that name stuck. But the Four Tops were around for a long time before they ever had any hits. They were on a number of different record labels. Basically what would happen is they'd sign on to a label. The label would be all excited about them. They'd record a bunch of singles, and then a year or two later, after none of them charted well, they would just be dropped. This happened over and over and over. I feel like any other group would have given up, but the Four Tops are not any other group. They kept on trucking until finally in 1963, after almost a decade of being together, the Four Tops were signed to Motown Records. And the rest is history. Well, not quite, because they were signed to a subsidiary of Motown, which dealt with jazz recordings, sort of traditional pop type stuff. They recorded a few singles for them. Again, didn't go anywhere. But they said, we'll try them out with pop tunes. Why not? They assigned Holland Dozier and Holland, the new and awesome songwriting team, to write songs for them. And I can't remember if this is the first song they wrote for them, but it was their first hit for sure. A song called Baby I Need Your Lovin' came out in 1964, and it was a smash. They followed it up with a number of other successful songs. Their biggest hit of 1965 was a little song called I Can't Help Myself, aka Sugar Pie Honey Munch, and that became their first #1 hit. They followed it up with a song called The Same Old Song, which, it's kind of funny, if you listen to that song, it really was the same old song. They basically rewrote the song and had another hit. You know, they had the song Something About You. And then in 1966, they had a second #1 single in as many years, and that song was Reach Out, I'll Be There, massive hit. Now, those would actually go down as the only two #1 hit singles the Four Tops ever had, but they had so many great songs. Shake Me, Wake Me. They had 7 Rooms of Gloom, and of course, Standing in the Shadows of Love. And then they had their big hit of 1967, Bernadette. After that, the hits started to slow a little bit. I mean, they still had some other hit songs as well, like Walk Away Renee, Still Waters, which I may have been in 1970 by that point. But after 1967, the volume of hits they were having slowed down a little bit. Their classic period is thought to have been between 1964 and 67, but they kept making great records after that, don't get me wrong. In the early 70s, they had more success with Motown, like I said, with the Stillwater album, and then they they did a cover of MacArthur Park that I think did fairly well as well. And that's the way nature planned it, too. But by 1972, their popularity was starting to wane, and that was the year that Motown decided to basically abandon Detroit and not abandon Detroit, but move most of their operations to Los Angeles. The Four Tops didn't want to move their home base, so they elected to stay in Detroit and leave Motown Records. They went over to ABC Dunhill, and they had some big hits with ABC Dunhill, for sure. They'd Keeper of the Castle. They had their biggest hit over at ABC Dunhill was Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got. Great song. And then other songs like Are You Man Enough was a big hit as well from that time period. But anyway, they just kept performing, kept touring, and unlike the other acts at Motown, no lineup changes. These are still those same four high school kids out of Northern High and Pershing over in Detroit. Same four guys who, by all accounts, were just the best of friends. I've never really read any stories about them having a lot of bickering fights. And so by even 1983, when they'd been recording for almost 30 years, they appeared on Motown 25, and Motown 25 was all about reunions and these old bands getting back together. The Four Tops performed, but they didn't need to reunite because they never broke up in the first place. By the late 70s and into the 80s, they stopped having regular hits, but they continued to record music. In 1983, they had a song called I Believe in You and Me, and it's such an amazing song. I don't know how much of a hit it was, but man, that song is incredible. 1983 also marked a banner year for the Four Tops in that they re-signed with Motown. They came back to Motown for a few years in the 80s. In 1988, they put out an album called Irresistible, with a song on it that I kind of like called Loco in Acapulco, which something is telling me was co-written by Phil Collins. I'm not quite sure if that's true, but I like that song. And that would wind up being the Four Tops' last single, and Indestructible would be the last album the Four Tops would record. After 1988, they just settled down, and they did not settle down, let me be clear. They stopped recording, but they continued to maintain quite a rigorous touring schedule up and through the 90s. By the mid-90s, though, the couple of members were starting to have health trouble, so they started to slow down a little bit. I believe they put out a Christmas album in 1994, which was the last album of new recordings that the Four Tops ever put out. In 1996, they played at the MGM Grand for a concert that was billed as their 40th anniversary concert, which is weird because they'd already been around for 42 years by that point. That concert was released on, I think, VHS and then later DVD, and it's an amazing concert. It's amazing not just for the quality of the performance, which is great, but for the fact that it was one of the, if not the last concert that those original Four Tops, Duke Faker, Obie Benson, Levi Stubbs, and Lawrence Payton ever performed together. Certainly, the last recorded concert. Later that year, Lawrence Payton started to have more troubles with, he had kidney problems, I know, and he eventually died in 1997, bringing an end to the 43 years that one lineup was together. 43 years, think about that. And there was no real big gaps in that period either. They just 43 years straight toured together. Actually, I believe the last recorded performance by the original lineup of the Four Tops is a 1997 commercial for Velveeta shells and cheese. Pretty catchy. Unfortunately, Lawrence Payton died in 1997. The Four Tops decided not to call it quits. They continued to perform for a few months, under the name The Tops. They performed as a trio, so they stopped calling themselves the Four Tops, and they were now just The Tops. That didn't last very long. In 1998, or maybe even late 97, they hired Theo Peoples to join in and fill in on Lawrence Payton's old parts. They'd taken Theo Peoples basically from the Temptations. I think he'd been let go in 1998, I want to say, after 5 years with the Temptations, and then the Four Tops picked him up. He is the only person to go down as being a lead singer for both the Four Tops and the Temptations. In the approximately the year 2000, lead singer Levi Stubbs had a stroke, which rendered him unable to continue performing with the Four Tops. Very unfortunate. I know he wanted to keep performing, but he just couldn't do it anymore. So what they did is they promoted Theo Peoples to that lead singer spot. They got a new guy, Ronnie McNear, to fill in Lawrence Payton's old parts, and continued with that lineup for the next 5 years. In 2004, the group did an awesome gala 50th anniversary concert. Star-studded event. I know Aretha Franklin came and sang with them that night, and that performance included an amazing tearjerker where they brought back Levi Stubbs in a wheelchair to perform I Believe in You and Me. He came back on stage to reunite with the rest of the surviving Four Tops. Such an amazing moment. Made a little bit more poignant by the fact that then original Four Top Obie Benson died in 2005. That left Duke Fakir as the only not the only surviving Four Top member, but the last of the original four still performing with the group. So in just 8 short years, they'd gone from being the original four to only having one left. So that's pretty sad. But he kept the ship going. He continued to front the Four Tops for years to come. Still is to this day. I know in 2006, this new lineup of the Four Tops, which included Lawrence Payton Jr., they got the son of the late great Lawrence Payton to join the group and sing with them. And under this new lineup, they made a DVD called like Live in Las Vegas or something in 2006. Tragically, Levi Stubbs, the original lead singer, eventually died of cancer at the age of 72 in 2008. But the Four Tops kept on going. In 2011, Theo Peoples left the group to pursue other projects. I think that's a monumental moment in the Four Tops history. Why? That makes Theo Peoples the first member of the Four Tops in the, at that time, 57-year history of the group to leave for any reason other than death or disability. The only one to actually quit the Four Tops in their entire history up to that point. But yeah, relatively, if you go through their entire history, pretty stable group, especially if you compare them to the Temptations. Like I said, I did a video on them earlier. Anyway, they replaced Theo with Harold Spike Bonart, who was their lead singer for 8 years. And then in 2019, he either quit or was let go. I don't believe they ever actually press released that. But they replaced him with Alexander Morris, who is the new and current lead singer of the Four Tops. So the current lineup of the Four Tops is Alexander Morris, Ronnie McNear, Lawrence Payton Jr., and the original, the great Duke Fakir, who is now 84 years old. Again, I'm sorry, Duke, if I mispronounce your name. Yeah, he's 84 years young. And now, of course, I assume they're not performing right now on account of COVID-19, but as of the time that this horrible thing reared its ugly head back in March, as of that point, they were still touring. We'll see if they do again. I'm sure they'd love to go out and do that again. They haven't shown any signs that they're going to retire quite yet. But, yeah, I mean, he's a real story in himself to still be performing regular concerts at 84. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Anyway, there's the entire 66-year history of the Four Tops. I'm leaving some stuff out. It's a long story, but I wanted to keep this video relatively brief. Thank you so much for watching. I've only got 2 days left in this video, every day in September stuff. I'm actually pretty sad that it's coming to an end. It's been so fun being a part of this community. Check out my description for links to the channels of the wonderful other fellow VEDSies, other people doing this video every day in September challenge, as well as links to where you can find my own music, where it's sold or streamed online. Thanks for watching this video. Like this video if you like what you saw. Subscribe to this channel if you've been enjoying my videos, and ring the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I upload a new video, which will be tomorrow and most days for the foreseeable future. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you again real soon.